Hello, hi, how are you? This is Coach Aaron Saft and the Running is Life podcast. And today's guests are Avery Tompkins and Ben Gans. And man, we went deep into talking about crewing and what goes into crewing for not only a 200 miler, but three. So we talked about crewing for Ben's Triple Crown. We had in a few episodes ago, I spoke with Ben and we talked about his Triple Crown and everything that went on it. And he kept mentioning Avery. So we wanted to get Avery on the podcast and he was wonderful. Avery just shared so much information. He was a wealth of knowledge and organization, as you'll hear here in this podcast. So we're going to just take a deep dive. Brace yourselves. It's another long one, but a lot of great stuff here. And I appreciate both Ben and Avery coming on to talk through this. So thank you both for such a great conversation. I hope you all enjoy it, and I'll catch up with everybody at the end of this conversation. All right, here we are, as promised. Avery and Ben back on. Awesome. We've heard from Ben recently, so Avery, I'd like to open it up to you so you can kind of explain your background and how you came into ultra running and crewing and all that good stuff. So please give us a little rundown of your background, if you would, please.
Yeah, so I'm actually a professor, which is something that has actually allowed me to take on this role for Ben because I don't teach class over the summer.
Cool.
So when I crewed for Cocodona, I was on sabbatical. It just kind of lined up, and I did not have to teach class in June or August. So for Tahoe and Bigfoot, I I had no obligation where I had to be somewhere on a certain day at a certain time. Um, and for Moab, I am very grateful that I work at a place with amazing colleagues who said, absolutely,
Cool.
we know you'll have to cancel class. We also know that you know how to do your job and you will give your students the work they need to do, and you should do the thing.
Yeah. Awesome.
I know not everybody has that privilege. So, um, but yeah, so that is like definitely a perk of my job
That's
that I was able to
fantastic.
do this. But um, I initially got into trail running because I was doing long distance backpacking.
Okay.
And when I moved to Kentucky for my job, um, I didn't know anybody here. Um, saw that, somebody was putting on a race. And I was like, well, that's only 25K. I mean, like, I've backpacked on the AT more miles than that in a day. And then I looked at the cutoff and I was like, oh, I can definitely hike that fast. Like carrying a full pack with gear. And so I signed up and I hiked the whole thing. Um, and but I slowly, I did more, and the ratio of running to hiking changed, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I've not run longer than a 50K, and I have no desire to.
That's fair.
Uh, uh, but I think it was in about 2019, somebody I knew asked me if I would crew and pace her
Okay.
for Burning River in Ohio.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, it's great. Yeah, like I'll figure this out. Um, and we did that one, and she was like, hey, will you crew and pace me for no business? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, great, we'll go down there. And then she was like, hey, will you crew and pace me for, the race in Louisiana? And I was like, sure. Um, and it just kind of went from there, in terms of kind of getting into crewing and being involved in the longer races. I've spent a lot of time volunteering at races, um, sweeping races. So the long ones that I don't run, I'm volunteering at.
That's cool.
And so I just kind of, the trail running community, definitely in Kentucky, has just been a really cool part of my life and time since I've moved here. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That's, and how did you and Ben meet?
So Ben and I had a mutual friend, and we like started following each other on Instagram. And in 2023, Ben had posted where he had two screens up. One was the business screen, and the other was the Cocodona live stream. And I had the exact same thing going in my office. And I sent him a picture and I was like, oh, hey, like, we're doing the same thing. Um, and, we watched all 5 days of it and we're kind of texting, chatting back and forth about, what's going on and the footage and everything. And it got to the last day and he said, I think I might sign up. And I said, well, you should. And he said, well, and I said, well, I said, if you need somebody to crew or pace, just let me know. The offer stands if you want. And I don't know how long ago, like how far after that was, but you were like, I think I'm going to take you up on that. Um,
I think that having not done, I'd done a 100-mile race up to that point, and I was really looking at Cocodona. It just looked like so much fun. And watching the live stream, I think 2 years in a row. And yeah, I did sign up the last day of the live stream, and I was chatting, like you can chat with the live stream, and they'll like talk to you, and like they'll read people who are like saying things. And so I was like, hey guys, just FYI, I signed up for Cocodona next year. And they're like, oh, sweet, we got a guy to sign up. Yay, go live stream. But you start to learn after looking into like other people's races how much logistics work is involved. And I was like, I need somebody to do this with me, but also probably for me. I don't have the capacity to train, do all the logistics. Like I need a team.
Mm.
Um, and also I know that for myself, having other people with me motivates me. Um, and so I think I agree, Avery. Like I don't remember when I texted you or even like reached out and was like, "Do you want to like helm this crew?" Um, and then somehow after Cocodona, he was okay with doing it for 3 more races the next year. Um, but I'll let him speak to that and what keeps him on my team.
well, I mean, so Ben and I first met in person in a parking lot in Flagstaff a few days before Cocodona in 2024. We had not met in person.
Right.
I had taken the shuttle from Phoenix to Flagstaff, and Ben picked me up in the shuttle parking lot in Flagstaff, which has like 12 parking spaces or something. And, with my duffel bag that's approximately the same size as me. Um, and that was the first time we met in person.
Wait,
Was right
obviously.
before.
We had already and Aaron, you and I had talked, and I even think the three of us plus one of my other crew
We
members
did.
had a Zoom
Yeah, the
meeting
Zoom.
beforehand, so
Hmm.
there was a lot of communication before that. But yeah, the first time we met in person was picking up Avery and Stacy, one of my pacers, from the airport. So that was wild.
That's cool. Avery, I imagine you have to have a pretty um, good personality to to be able to to work with quite different people, and like Ben and your previous friend. There's something to be said about about, especially crew chiefs. They have to be extremely patient and be able to, dictate situations. So I would expect to hear some of those qualities coming out in some of the comments that you're you're gonna make. Do you feel you have those qualities? Because I'm sure you do, even if you think you don't.
I mean, yeah, yes. I I teach and I have students, and right, so there's kind of I guess, a natural some amount of patience there, right? But I teach college students, so they're also adults, right? Like there are, they're not children.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know that I have the same. I know I don't have the same patience if I were to teach actual children. So, um, but I think I'm pretty good at just motivating people. Um, so I, when I volunteer at races, my partner and I tend to always pick uh, the last aid station that runners will get to before the finish,
Mm.
or the one at which it's easiest to drop. Because I, except for one time, have always been able to talk people into not dropping. Like, and the one time it was like, I think the person just kind of had a personal thing going on, and I did get them to leave the aid station with me. I was sweeping, and I got them to leave the aid station with me, but then they ended up turning around and going back. But uh, I've gotten every other person to leave and finish. And so I think that just kind of carried over into crewing. Um, like there were some rough moments during this triple crown. Um, like, I mean, yes, for Ben, right? Like as the runner, but like for me, as crew chief, and this is where it gets kind of interesting, because Ben has his side as the runner. And then there's all this stuff happening behind the scenes that he does not see, right? He sees what happens at the aid station for 45, 60, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Like that's his view of what the crewing situation is. Um, and and my view of the running situation is what is he telling us and what pictures has he taken? Right? So it's like, we're both kind of compartmentalizing the race. And at the same time, we've really got to bring that together. Right. But I'm not out there for 200 plus miles, and he is not where I am the whole time that
Right.
he's out there. Um, so, but saying that, like, Aaron, I really want to thank you for having me on this podcast, because so much of the um, info that's out there about crewing, whether that's 200 plus miles, 100 milers, just crewing in general, there's nothing.
Right.
Like, there's so many videos that runners have made, and right, people share all kinds of stuff on their Instagram, social media, like amazing documentaries that people put out on YouTube, right, about their Triple Crown journey or Cocodona journey, whatever. There's nothing for crew. Like truly, I mean, I am not like um there Ben on his podcast that he just did with you,
Yep.
he had mentioned Tony, his foot person on the crew. And she hadn't crewed before. She like hadn't run these races before. She had like no experience with like the trail running community or ultras. And I was like, oh, well, I can like find a video, right, to help, so she has something to go off of in order to ask questions. And I was like, there is nothing. Like I'm going to start from scratch here, I guess. So like I really appreciate you kind of just being like, I guess, trying to help people, right?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
runners that are trying to do these races,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like they don't necessarily know how to help their crew.
Right, right. Yeah,
Um,
And how many times, Avery, were we out there and extremely grateful that we had our crew because there were so
yeah.
many other things that went wrong with other crews. And, we would help, obviously, but
Oh yeah.
it was eternally. And like he said, I'm there for an hour and a half, but I still saw so many things that were going wrong. And like, I was always so happy that my crew was who my crew was. They helped out in unimaginable ways and helped other crews too. Um, but it was just nice to be like, okay, I know that when I get to the aid station, like my crew will be there and they're going to do everything they can to help me keep going. Like I was very confident, and that was a good feeling knowing when I would get to them. It motivated me.
yeah. So, Avery, let's start with obviously Ben has selected his crew and his pacers. So start from that where you now know who's going to be a part of this collective. What what do you then do? Where do you go from there?
Um, it depends who it is. So, um, you know,
Every race is
uh,
different.
yeah. So it was not the same crew for each race. So it was like some overlapping people. Like Stacy was at Tahoe and Bigfoot, but not Moab. Tony was at Tahoe and Bigfoot, but not Moab. Um, Anna, Kate, and Mike were at Moab, but not the other two. um, Moab was like a whole new crew. Um, but uh, it does depend like who is there. So Stacy has run ultras and she's had experience pacing um, at 100 and 200 mile races. Um, so it was more like getting to know her sort of a thing.
Mhm.
Um, when we first met Tony, like I said, she had never done anything related to this before. So that was more like, what does crewing entail kind of thing.
Sure.
Um, Kate ran Cocodona and has done a bunch of other ultras. And um, her partner Mike, who came in for a couple days at Moab, he had crewed her before. So Anna, Ben's friend that came for Moab, had never like she and I spent so much time talking about what it meant to crew. Um, and she was ready to just hop in as a pacer, which was great because there was this really long and boring section at Moab. Um, and she was like, yeah, sure. Like, well, sure, I'll just do that. And I was like, okay. But she had a lot of questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what do I do as a pacer, right? And so luckily it was a little, um, I think we hit one aid station before she started pacing. But at that aid station, it was like educational. So it was like, this is what an aid station looks like. This is right. This is what you need to do with this aid station, right? So I'm like, here bottles, like help me carry them over, right? Like this kind of thing.
Sure.
Um, like just ask what food they have, right? Tell Ben what food they have. This is where there are chairs. Make sure you let runners sit down before you take a chair as a pacer, right? Like, so it kind of depends who's on the crew. Um, Honestly, like everybody gets access to my wild spreadsheet. Um,
Well, let's talk about that. What is this
Yes,
wild
definitely.
spreadsheet?
the
The meat and
the
potatoes of a race. Yes, the
the
Bible that gets updated um, each race in the Triple Crown, which is what we go by
sort of until we can't.
until we can't. Yeah.
Yeah, this spreadsheet it, like started as a template. I wish I could remember who shared it. It was like somebody shared it in like the Cocodona Facebook group in like 2023 or 2024, and it was like a much simpler version of what we now have. Um, and it was, and you're cracking up because I
I
know
just
there's like 5 million columns now.
the amount of time that you put into that, and the amount, I mean, basically it's a spreadsheet that has every aid station, how many miles, how much time I'm supposed to be there, um, how much time I actually spent there, how much time or how many miles to the next aid station. It has data on data, and it has like an A plan, a B plan, and a C plan.
Okay.
And then if all that goes out the window, we can still edit it on the fly, and it will calculate, okay, he spent way too long at this aid station. Where are we going to make up for this later on?
Mm.
And I'm sure he'd be willing to share that, the template with people, because the only, I
Oh
mean, we
yeah.
got the
That'd be great.
template from
Yeah,
somebody else.
Avery, if you could send that over, I'll certainly put that in the show notes.
Yeah. I mean, I can simplify it slightly. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
people
If you
need
have
the Moab one
none, if
because
you have, yeah, if you have your original, that's
yeah,
probably
no,
all we need.
yeah, no problem.
That'd be great.
Um,
Yeah, I'll put that in the show
but
notes.
yeah, I mean, the spreadsheet is like I make it and Ben looks at it and I say, how does this look to you? So I start with Ultra Pacer
Hmm.
and I put the course, the GPX file into Ultra Pacer to do all the stuff, right? Like here's the cutoff for each aid station. Here's the break for this aid station, right? Whatever it is. I set it so that he's never um, less than 45 minutes behind cutoff for an aid station. That's generally a safe window. Gives some cushion. Um, but uh, and then I put that into Google Sheets and there are formulas and things. Then I start putting in like, okay, we are this number of hours in, he's got to sleep. So what's the aid station closest to this, where there's crew, where he can sleep, right? It's not aid station where crew has to hike in to him because otherwise he has to hike out to the car and right. So I don't want it to be that one. But and then I kind of do the thing and show it to Ben, and I'm like, how does this look? Like, look at the mileage, the miles to next, the breaks based on these mileages, how many hours it is between sleep. So there's a column that says like, um, uh, I'm like looking at it over here. It's like basically like how many hours since you last slept.
Got it.
So if I'm like, okay, well, he's got to sleep again, and then there's a column that would be like, okay, well, that would be 21 hours from the last time he slept, right?
How far
But
out did you share this with Ben prior to race, like just so he could get an overall?
I start sharing it very early.
Well,
And then,
generally, what would that be? Like a month out,
oh
2 months out?
gosh.
I'd say about
Uh,
a month. I get like an
yeah.
initial, and so it uses a we come up with an overall time when I think I'm going to finish, right?
Mhm.
So Cocodona, we had to guess what that time would be, but then we going from then on, we used the Cocodona, how fast I was going, and use that as like a general cutoff. Um, let's see how fast Ben went in Cocodona. We'll extrapolate that and move it over to Tahoe. And so that's generally what we use. But then Tahoe, I was much slower. So then we use Tahoe as the baseline for what the cutoff should be, and extrapolated from there. But it was nice to get the spreadsheet has all the names, how far the distances were from each of the aid stations. And so I could start kind of like building in my mind, okay, the first aid station is this far away. I'm not going to see my crew for this long. I could get my in the headspace of what this might look like going forward. And that gave me a little bit of confidence, just like, I don't know, rehashing it in my head over and over, looking at it again and again. Um, it made me feel confident because I knew what was coming next. Now, obviously, these things would change as my pace was slower or faster, and the amount of time between aid stations or between seeing my crew and getting a pacer. But it just felt like I had beta. I had an idea of what I was getting into, and I could, mentally be like, oh, like in Moab, okay, there's 100 miles, you're not going to see your crew or have a pacer. Um,
Yeah.
so mentally be ready for that.
I mean, that
And that was
was, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that was the best part about having those spreadsheets ahead of time. As somebody who likes to feel prepared and just like mentally know what's coming. Now, come game day, like that things can be worse or better. But for the most part, it was nice to just have like a little template of what was coming up.
And Avery, how were you able to manipulate that on the fly? Was it on your phone or did you carry a laptop, tablet? What were you doing to?
So, it's mostly on my phone, but uh, I do bring a tablet, but the tablet usually stays like Airbnb. The phone, right, I have at the aid stations, but I just make it so I can edit it offline. So there's like a setting on your Google Drive where you can edit things offline, and then when I would have service again, it would sync into the Google Drive, and I could open it on the tablet or a laptop or whatever. But even, at um, Bigfoot, where we had no cell phone service for quite a while, I could still edit it, and the formulas would like recalculate like a new ETA or right anything, how far there's columns for how far or behind he is the ETA, and then how far or behind he is, hopefully not behind, the cutoff um, for that one. So, uh, but like Ben said, I think for him, he's like, he would say, how long till I see you guys next? Because that is not the same as how many miles do I have? It's how long until I see you. Like, I don't care like how many miles it is, right? Like, I know we're going 200 miles, but like, how long until I see you? And that spot in Moab, because they took those crew spots away, and Ben had said it, told you that it was like 109 to 110 miles. Um, I said, like, you're looking at almost 2 full days. I mean, it was 40 some hours. Um, like that's a really long time. Um,
Which is good
and
for me to know and have that
right.
information ahead of
I
time,
mean,
obviously.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, but like for me, that was a really long time. Like, because I had been used to seeing him it's not like you can crew every aid station, but like I don't know, every 50 miles at least, right? Like, um, and I'm like, this, this is this is really far, but 2 full days of 4.5 day race before you can see your crew. That's far. Um,
It is far,
so
and it's a long time for me to make mistakes or not know without communication that I'm behind where I should be. Like I think I'm doing the best I can, but I am sleep deprived. And um, like Avery, if you would tell the people how once I finally saw you, you had a plan already in place to make
yeah,
stuff up, and it was very overwhelming for me who had not seen my crew and thought I was doing just fine and was ahead of the cutoffs. But um, I don't have the calculations that he had. And I got to Shea Mountain, or I think it was Shea Mountain that I saw. No, no, yeah, Shea Mountain, where I could pick up a pacer. That I was alerted to the fact that I was grossly behind, inadequate, and they had a plan. And that, I mean, honestly, like that's what I'm so grateful for Avery and Kate at that point because like they took over. I got a pacer, I had a time. She was like, "Here's what we're doing. Here's how fast we need to go. Let's go." So.
yeah, it was pretty like, I mean, he was ahead of his ETA, like doing fine, until there's he gets to mile 68, which is, and like I'm looking at the spreadsheet, so I can see where things are going horribly awry. Um, in terms of, I enter the numbers and it recalculates, and then I'm like, oh God, like this cannot continue because the negative behind the ETA is getting larger. So this is not looking good, right? It can't continue to get larger. Um, and at mile 68, it's like 15 minutes behind the ETA. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, 15 minutes and 40 minutes behind the ETA. It's like, well, that's fine because like we're still, 2 hours ahead of cutoff. And then it's like, okay, well, now we're 2 hours and 45 minutes behind the ETA. And then I start getting concerned and I'm like, okay, but he's still 90 minutes ahead of the cutoff. But now I have to be like, this is also assuming that he's sticking to the break that's built in. So, at this point, he's at mile 100. He hasn't seen his crew. He's way behind the ETA. The number ahead of cutoff, he's still ahead, but it's getting shorter, right? And like Ben said, there's nobody to be like, hey, do the thing. Like you gotta pick it up a little bit. Um, and that was kind of when the spreadsheet has a bold line right above Shea Mountain and a note that says everything below this line has been recalculated. And it basically I was able to, if people don't use Ultra Pacer, they should. Like highly recommend. I mean, 100 milers, if people are confident about doing 100 milers, like it's but 200 milers, Ultra Pacer, like it really Ultra Pacer helped us not DNF Moab. I mean, truly. Like I can do some work with a spreadsheet, but they now have like a live updating thing. So if you load your runner's plan in Ultra Pacer, a thing will pop up that'll be like, your event has started. And you can enter your runner's check-in, check-out times from aid stations, and then every aid station below that. will recalculate. And things turned red when I did that. And
I'm gonna
that's when I
interject.
was,
Oh,
what'd
sorry.
you say?
I was gonna say I had no idea that that was an option in Ultra
It
Pacer.
wasn't until like this one.
I know. I'm just saying this is how out of it the runner is with like what the crew is doing to like help. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, and it was like I could see on the spreadsheet mine that things were not going well, right? Like I knew that we were sort of things were very iffy at Moab. But when I used the live update thing in Ultra Pacer,
It's
that
solidified.
that confirmed it and it told me what I needed to change to make this happen. Um, and I spent a lot of time trying to enter different breaks at different aid stations, so none of them were showing up like red, like you're not gonna make it. Um, and it was, like that part was, I think Moab was the most stressful one. Just, I mean, the weather was horrible, right? Like, really bad. And that really just that got to everyone, right? That was it was. I mean, the DNF rate I think for Moab was 40 to 45%,
Hmm.
something like that. Um, and like Kate, like I thought that I was maybe missing something, and so I was like, Kate, can you like look at this with me and like tell me that I'm not, missing something? And she was like, yeah, no, like this is it. Like like the the weather hindered people so much. Like we had 19 hours worth of breaks built in for him. He was going to be able to sleep for hours. He took 9 hours of breaks and slept 4 hours and 40 minutes.
Is that right? 4
Yes,
hours and 40. I did not know that. Yeah.
that's an estimate. There are a couple of those are estimates because I wasn't with you. They weren't timed.
Sure.
So it
Sure.
was based on your tracker when it said you got to an aid station and then when you left, and if you told me you slept and an approximate number. So yeah. Like you were supposed to have 10 more hours of like sleep, eating, breaks, right? Like it looked like so luxurious when I first put the spreadsheet together. Um,
But I mean, to your guys' credit, to my crew's credit, man, like I didn't know all this, right? So I'm coming into Shea Mountain. It's 120 some odd miles in. I'm like, yeah,
114.
okay, thank you. Um, and I have overcome, at least in my mind, the adversity of all this weather that we've had. Like I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I haven't dropped yet. And I finally get to like kind of talk to my crew and like get a pacer. Um, all of that to be just deflated and like I'm glad you're overcoming things, but you need to sit down and eat because you're about to have to get up and go again because you are grossly behind these cutoffs. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, all right. I'm gonna have to, recalibrate my mindset here because I think I've already kind of conquered what I think is one of the harder things I've done. And again, that is because I have a crew. That's because Avery calculated all that, and Kate was there to help pace me over Shea Mountain. That I cannot give enough gratitude for what they did to help me finish that race.
And thinking about, obviously, Avery, you had you had a lot going on with manipulating the spreadsheet and trying to make sure that Ben was going to keep moving forward. Um, were there roles assigned to other people? And no, yes, maybe.
No. So, I mean, not really. And I think this is um something that it's, for people who are doing 200s and they're trying to put together a crew and it's obviously there has to be a lot of communication between the runner and the crew, and if they have a crew chief or crew captain, and some people don't, like they may just kind of equally or whatever equitably spread things out, and there may not be one person who's kind of doing the logistical stuff. Um, but we kind of had it where I was doing the crew chief stuff. And then other people were doing various like Tony was doing like the foot stuff. Like that, like her thing was the foot stuff.
When Tony was with us for the Triple Crown, those and Cocodona, her job was feet. So
Yes.
she had read what is the name of that book? I always forget the name.
Fixing feet.
Fixing Feet, yes. And she had watched videos from Thor. I forget her name, and we should definitely tag her in the show notes because she is an excellent medic and does a lot of foot care for these 200-mile races and has an Instagram where she talks about foot care and preventative stuff.
You said Thor, as in
Yeah, it's Thor. I don't remember um, her handle.
I'll look
I'll
it up.
look it up.
Yeah, I'll try to put.
But Tony had uh, just like a sponge soaked all this in, and then after Cocodona, she had like a plan and she was the designated foot person for those races.
Yeah. And then um Stacy, Kate, and Anna, the three of them did some crewing and some pacing. So um there's kind of thing, I guess, when people are trying to think about how to put together their crew, it's do you want people on the crew to do both crewing and pacing? Or maybe you have no pacers and you just need crew, right? Because you figure you're going to make friends out there or whatever, and people are right. You're going to pace each other, essentially, you and another runner, other runners, Um, but it is just like from my experience of, you know, um, crewing Cocodona, but especially the Triple Crown, it worked best for us to have me crew. So I paced one section, which was the worst. I mean, like, I paced at Cocodona and I paced at Bigfoot, and they're both like horrible sections, even though you'd think they're not. Um,
On paper, they're
like,
flat,
yeah,
um,
on paper,
which
they're quick.
winds up being awful. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, it was just wild.
But you're right. Like
So
having you stay crew chief and like just do crew allowed for other people to come swap out and
yeah,
pace if we needed to.
yeah,
Which we did. Stacy and Anna both crewed and paced, but Avery's job, I feel like, was always like, we need a captain at the helm, and we don't need them tired or, sleep deprived because they're pacing. And so we did pick a few specific sections specifically so that Avery and I could just like hang out and like have some fun times
yeah.
together. And
Because
we
the
tried to
thing
make
was,
them.
is go ahead.
No, no, you're good. I was gonna say just like they wound up being the flattest, boringest sections of both those races, Bigfoot and Tahoe.
And
Um,
I guess like my my specific question is like Avery, were you able to like task other people with specific roles? Like for instance, if Ben came in and had a pack need, were you able to say like, hey, I want you to make sure you address, Ben's, pack, his water bottles, etc. Did you, specifically tell those people? Because I've been a part of crews where I've had a crew chief that didn't really provide direction, and everybody was trying to fulfill the same roles, and it just took more time, and it felt like we were like the Three Stooges bumping into each other.
um, yeah, yes and no. It like um, it kind of depended what he needed at that particular aid station. and who was doing what. Because if somebody was just coming in from pacing or about to leave, they were not crewing, right? Like you like let me know if you need stuff so I can send you out there with him, but I don't want you to worry about his stuff, right? Like you do your thing and I will set up the chairs, get the food, or Tony and I will set up the chairs and get the food while Stacy gets her stuff together, right? Whatever it is. Um, Pacers are trading out. Okay, well then the pacer that comes in is the one that's helping us. Um, they get to stop. They're done running for a bit. But it did really depend on the race, the aid station, with 200 plus miles, you do kind of find a groove with the crew, especially if everybody like really just meshes. So it was like, okay, I park the car, we set up the chairs, we pull the cooler out, like air mattress gets inflated if it's not already inflated, like get the quilt, there's the pillow, perfect, go to sleep. Like um and essentially when he would sleep is when the rest of us would mess with his pack. So it's like I would shut him in the van or the SUV and he would eat things, he'd drink whatever beforehand, but when he was ready to sleep he got shut in there and that's when we did the rest. So that was like, okay, somebody fill up the bottles, somebody fill up the bladder, let's make sure he's got clean this, like, right. So people kind of like, it was like everybody knew there was a list of tasks to do and people just took them on. Like, yeah, I'll grab the bottles. Yep, he wants a breakfast burrito before he leaves. Like, I'll go get that. Like, I'll fill the bottles and I'll go ask about the breakfast burrito. Um, but I think that is part of like some of us had, crewed with each other for previous ones, and like we just kind of um fell into the roles, I guess. But I mean, I would absolutely delegate if that did not occur very quickly.
I was going to
Like,
say, like you still were running the show. And if you needed, like, people listen to Avery, and that was kind of like something we talked about up top. Like, guys, Avery's running this. Like, whatever Avery says goes. Like, if there's a conflict or something, Avery is the last deciding factor on everything. And so most people were just like at kind of like at his beck and call, like, what do I need to do, Avery? I can do his feet, or I can go get his food. And he would really do a good job of just like air traffic control, like go this way, you go over here, then you go to sleep and shut up. And then also when I woke up, there was always just like Avery would do like a debrief, like, okay, here's your next section, here's what you're looking at, here's your pacer or not, and we'll see you there. Go, start walking.
Did you have to bench anybody at any time, Avery? Did you have any time where
no,
things weren't meshing? Okay,
no, the Triple Crown was like everybody was awesome.
that's great.
Um,
That's
like
great.
everybody was just like amazing, and that's the thing. Like I did not pick the crew. Ben picked a crew. Like I I
I
was
tried
going to
to
be at
pick
all
people
of them,
that
and it was sort of like, you know,
I like to think that just I tried to pick good people who were gonna
you
do the
did.
best they could and have a nice time. And um, you know, Anna, who was crewing at Moab, told me, she's like, that was one of the best times of my entire life. And I was like, you like massaged my feet and put squirrel's nut butter on them and like took my socks off, and like that was the best time of your life. And she's like, yeah, I had a great time. She actually now has a 2-year plan to eventually do Moab. So I'm very thankful that she had a good time, and that I try to pick people who I think are going to mesh well together. You can never really know what's going to happen, but we got lucky too. Our crews for all those were really good.
That's awesome. Because, I mean, when you think about it, and you think about a 200 or even 100, there are certain people that don't do well on lack of sleep, right? I mean, there's no other way to put it. That they just get cranky, and that comes out. And unfortunately, what Avery seemed to have done a great job, credit to him, is that you know, he was able to control the situation and just let you know exactly what you needed, right? And be upfront. Now that's both compassionate and tough love at the same time, right? Because,
He draws a good line there.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
He was compassionate, but also there's a couple times particular that I remember I'm talking to somebody in the crew and eating, and he's like, every minute that you're talking, you're losing sleep time. And I was like, okay, I need to shut up and go to bed now. But also, I mean, again, he's like, this is your race, though. If you want to stay awake and talk to the crew, go ahead. But my job is to try and get you to where you want to go. So compassionate, but um, direct,
And
which is
that's
what I
what
need.
exactly, and that's what you need out of a crew chief,
Hmm.
And I can think of an example, unfortunately, where we had a crew member that was a negative being around the runner, and that's what can't happen, right? Is like we can't have that the negativity, and especially where that negativity is being exhibited around and toward the runner themselves. So that person had to be removed. We actually had to sit that person out and say, go back to the hotel. Like that's what I talked about with benching someone. We actually had to bench someone because they were tired and they were just didn't want to be out there anymore. They were like, they had had their straws. And Ben, as you said, you try to select the people you feel are going to be the best around you, the best people, but you don't know how they're going to react under certain circumstances. And that's the tough part, is like, you've packed these people because you feel they're great people, but in reality, when it comes down to it, sometimes even if in the past they were spot on 100%, they were there, everybody has their off times because we don't know what's going on in their lives, right? So, as the crew chief, like, as Avery can do, or as any other crew member can bring it to Avery's attention to say, hey, like this person's really bringing down the environment here and affecting our runner. I think something needs to be done. And collectively as a team that can be done. It doesn't have to necessarily be all on the crew chief, but the crew chief can certainly say, I can handle this, but so I'm glad you didn't have that situation, Avery, because it
No.
has arisen and it was tough to deal with. So
Yeah, I
that's
can
great.
imagine. Not not a
It
good
was,
time.
it was funny because like over time, like Avery really got to know me um when I'm not in a good headspace or when I'm getting delirious. And it was great. I remember at Geyser Pass, which is I think the third or second to last aid station at Moab. I know I'm having delusions. I know that I'm sleep deprived, and Avery does too. And I remember getting to the aid station and being like, "Hey, Avery, I'm having delusions," and he's like, "Yeah, buddy, totally. Let's go to bed now." And it was just like there was nothing else that needed to be said. He knew that I was having a bad time and that there was nothing we should talk about and like discuss. We should just put Ben to sleep right now and we'll deal with it later. And that I don't know, that's just like the knowledge that he's like, I can see this coming from a mile away. Um,
Or many miles
Many miles
away.
away, yes. Um, I think only comes with the fact that we'd done this before. And so I'm not sure how you really get that without doing something like that previously. But it was just so nice to have somebody who was very aware of my mental state at that mileage and to be like, okay, bud, got it. Let's deal with this now.
I think I think I gave you a root beer because
Mhm.
the barks with the ice. So I'm positive we had that ready. And then um was that the one where was it Geyser Pass? It was, I think. It was because Kate was with you.
Kate was with,
And I
yeah.
had texted her to tell her not to tell you that I had gotten you two new double cheeseburgers. And
That's right.
do you remember you ate one? You ate, and I said, I have these double cheeseburgers for you. and you ate one, and I said, and this one, you're going to take it with you. And
Yes.
you shoved it in your pack when we sent you out.
Right.
But he had put cheeseburgers in all his drop bags. And he does this for every race. It's either like McMuffin, like a sausage McMuffin, or it's cheeseburgers, and he puts them in all the drop bags. But like, I mean, day two, probably fine. Day three, questionable. By the end of day three, yikes. Day four, not a thing you want to eat. And I was like, it is so bad out there. Like just he is having a extremely difficult time. And I know these cheeseburgers are not doing well in this weather at all. Um, and I was like, okay, like what can I like what can I do to just like give him some kind of like pick me up here? And I was like, I could go get some double cheeseburgers. That's what I gotta do. Like, um, so for the low price of $6, um, y- in terms of uh race budgets, that's $6 fully worth it.
And that's just, a crew chief who knows who you are, right? I mean, it just takes, I think that if you're looking to pick a crew chief, pick somebody who knows you well, or who you can at least spend time with. Because yeah, a double cheeseburger from McDonald's like is a good mental pick me up, and it really helped. I mean, I finished, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
But
no problem.
it's those little things. Yeah.
That's fantastic. If we think about the logistics, especially of a Triple Crown, right? Ben in the episode said that Avery, you handled all of the logistics, the lodging, travel, the car rentals, etc. Um, did you have a checklist? Need to do this, this, and this, a timeline, etc. Talk about that for a bit, if you would, please.
Yeah, so the logistics for each race, I would say Bigfoot and Moab were the most similar, particularly in terms of like the vehicle situation. Um, just like for anybody who is doing the Triple Crown and you do not currently have a Costco membership, I do not work for Costco. However, the rental cars through Costco, way cheaper. The $65 per year membership, like it will have paid for itself. But uh like that, so like I would get the rental car because I would just use my Costco membership to book the car. Um the logistics of car rental um were intense, starting especially for Bigfoot. Tahoe was easy. You're driving on paved roads. So, like a minivan, great, because he can lay down in it, right? Like you don't need any clearance at Tahoe. It's all paved, the aid stations are in a parking lot or, so it's fine. Um, Bigfoot was when logistics got like serious, where I was researching the dimensions of vehicles. I knew we had to have clearance. Like we need to have SUV clearance, like Subaru clearance, not 4x4, but not 4 to 5 inches of clearance. That wasn't going to cut it. Um, but you know, with SUVs, you lose the ability to lay flat, right? And fully stretched out. So I'm like looking at all these car websites, comparing the interior dimensions of vehicles against my vehicle to try to get a sense of how big the vehicle is that I would be driving, as well as how much space is in there so he can lay down and there's enough space like fully stretched out for him to do that, right? That was like I don't even know. I probably started that research like a month and a half before Bigfoot started. Like, truly, that took so much time. And for anybody who's looking for a crew vehicle for Bigfoot, you choose an SUV that has a third row that will fully stow all the way down into the floor. So it will be flat, and then the second row will stow flat. So it has to be a third row SUV where everything stows flat. But this part is kind of left up to personal preference. Um, there's like when you rent like a full size SUV, it's like a Tahoe, and um, that size really iffy for Bigfoot. Um, where crews have to park, I mean, it is on a one lane road with a drop off kind of thing, right? And you're going to have to turn around. You will have to turn around. And so it's like, yeah, your runner and your crew will have more space in the vehicle if you get a full size SUV like a Tahoe, but you will have to manage getting that thing in and out of aid stations. So, um, we did not rent one that big, and I feel like that was an excellent decision.
We did.
So,
We witnessed at Cocodona, we witnessed people that got stuck. Bigfoot specifically, we witnessed a lot of people that hit other cars or other vehicles.
yeah,
And I was just always like, thank goodness Avery's at the helm. He figured it all out beforehand.
I mean, it was really like I was very concerned about the vehicle situation. Um, and I think I was part of this is, um, as you know, Aaron, Bigfoot is just people's cars. Like people pop tires, right? Like all kinds of stuff. And you have no cell service. So it's like the car thing to me is, and Ben had said like he knew that I was going to be at every aid station. I was going to be there on time. The car, like the vehicle thing for me is if I mess up the vehicle, it means I'm not getting there. And I don't have service to tell him that I'm not going to be there. I drove at Bigfoot so carefully. Like, there was no way that I was losing a tire um, and not going to make it. Um,
How many miles did you drive at Bigfoot?
over 1,000.
Yep.
Um,
Keep in mind if you're doing that one. Yeah.
yeah. And, uh, but it was like, I mean, I really, I think I put so much time into the logistics of the vehicle because that's how crew gets to their runner. Like that is how a runner has crew. And so in order for us to get to him and for him to be crewed in a way that he wants to be crewed, like being able to lay fully stretched out in the back of a vehicle, it's balancing, can he do that? And can this vehicle get to him? A minivan is really easy for him to lay down in, but that was not going to cut it for Bigfoot. Right. And so I know it sounds like kind of maybe like a silly thing or, like a small thing. It's just renting a car, right? And, like, why do you put so much thought and time into renting a car and spending all this time with a million tabs open comparing the specs? But at the end of the day, that vehicle is how you crew. That is how you get to your runner. And I never wanted to like make any kind of like driving mistake. That would be my fault, right? Obviously I can't control other drivers. But um that would make it so that we wouldn't be there. Um
And to your
so
credit, you'd never miss an aid station in 4 races over 200 miles at all.
haven't.
I mean, it was a solid thing I could rely on, which helps, right? That mentality of like, I know my crew's going to be there. Can't wait. Um, so thank you, Avery, for all that.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem.
yeah.
We
No
ended up
problem.
doing a mid-size at Bigfoot,
Yeah.
and I used the sleep stations versus sleeping in the cars. We did have the second to last aid station. My crew missed me, and we had two inReaches. So my crew had an inReach, and I had an inReach, and you can have inReach to inReach communication. And that was how we communicated. Because as you said, there's no cell phone, so our workaround was to use the inReaches. And then we communicated that, hey, we're already here. We were well ahead of schedule, and the tracking wasn't that great, so they didn't know. So not really on them, like I wasn't upset or anything. I just let them know, hey, just so you know, I'm heading for the last aid station at this time. And I'll see you there. So, the inReaches came in so handy because of, like you said, you can't use your cell phones. There's no communication through that. But yeah, we were the same with even with Tour de France when we went over to Italy. There's cars over there that we don't have over here, and they're like, "Oh, you're getting this Volkswagen," blah, blah, blah. And you're like, "What is this?" Blah, 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 blah. And so you like bring up the specs, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that'll do." So like, yeah, it's totally you can totally bring up and see what the capacity is, and unfortunately and thankfully we're here and we're all on the standard system, but the metric over there was like, oh, what are we talking here? 2.5 meters is what? But anyhow, yes,
And I
the
will
car
say
rentals.
too, Aaron, because you mentioned the inReach, um, we did not have that. But something I made a note of to just for listeners so they know was if you have iPhones, you can use satellite texting. Um, and I mean, just for people's everyday lives, I encourage people to learn how to use the satellite texting if they have an iPhone. Um, your phone will run you through a demo. So, because you can only do it if you are on SOS. Have no Wi-Fi, you're on SOS. And your phone will prompt you. Do you want to text via satellite? Um, so I did the demo. Ben did the demo. We were like, okay, well, um, well, this if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we weren't expecting to have cell phone service anyway. So, um, and
We did use
we
it.
both we did. We totally used it and it totally worked.
Um,
Um,
Specifically in Moab, I remember texting after day one, which was just like one of the worst days. Being like, "Hey, I'm fine. Had a terrible time, but I'm alive, and here's where I'm at.
yeah.
Here's what I kind of want at the next aid station." And it involves you taking your phone and kind of pointing it in this particular direction in the sky, um, which is whatever. Moab is very open, and it worked. And it was a way for me to communicate. Just basically, I'm here. I'm still here. So keep going.
But it even worked at Bigfoot,
Mhm.
despite all the tree cover. Um, it would connect. And uh, we had a method where we would timestamp our message because your phone is going to timestamp when you receive it. So if there's a delay, Ben's going to be like, oh, he sent this at 4 p.m. because that's when I
Right.
got it.
I would mark the
But,
time that I
I
sent the
would,
message.
right. So I would say Saturday, 1:30 p.m., whatever my message was. Ben may get it like immediately, or he might get it, 30 minutes later, or maybe his phone is off and he turns his phone on 2 hours later. But if he sent one back, he would say, Saturday, 4 p.m. And that way, if there was a delay and he said Saturday at 4 p.m., I'm 5 miles out, I'm like, okay, well, he was 5 miles out at 4 p.m., not when the message came in. Um, but the satellite texting will get texts from other people with iPhones that do have service. So at Moab, I did not have service near uh, some of the aid stations. So in Moab, yes, fine. But when I started driving away, I lost service. I was able to use satellite texting with my partner who was at home with service. And I said, "Can you check the tracker?" And he was able to text me back and he said, "Yeah, here's his ETA. Here's how many miles out he is because I can't check the tracker without service." Um, and so, like, an inReach, those texts will come through. Um, like, if I don't have an inReach, somebody else's inReach texts will come through on my phone if I'm using satellite messaging, and I can text their inReach back. So, um, like, it honestly worked really well. I know that inReach can be cost prohibitive for folks, but if many people do have iPhones, I encourage people to learn, how it works and um, give it a go because we really were able to use it. And it was helpful. So
And friends have borrowed mine too. So like if you know somebody with an inReach, certainly just ask somebody else like, "Hey, can I borrow your inReach for this event?" Because that's super super helpful. But all great points, Avery. Thank you. Um, Aside from the the car, which obviously is huge, what were some of the other logistics that you had to handle, and was there any hiccups or snafus that you found, or any, troubles with logistics? Maybe like thinking about lodging, like did you have to book multiple locations just because of the course setup and such?
yeah, Tahoe, like Ben said in the last episode, that one was easy. I mean, Tahoe to crew Tahoe is simple. You Central location.
Comparatively, not easy, but
Well, I
comparative,
mean,
yeah.
the furthest we had to drive was maybe like an hour, and it was only an
Sure.
hour because there was construction. Like, and it was all paved roads, right? Like, um, so, but we had an Airbnb at Tahoe that was less than 5 minutes from an aid station that he came through twice.
Incline Village, right?
Yeah, and it was
That's
the
where we had it.
Village Green aid station.
Yeah.
It was right near the Village Green aid station, which was awesome. Um, Bigfoot, much more complicated. Um, although um, that one just overall had the most logistical challenges. And I did a thing that I guess it wasn't, nobody had said anything about it in Facebook groups or whatever, but I was trying to figure out like what is the most efficient way to do the thing. Like, because I knew there was going to be a lot of driving. So I'm like, what is the most efficient way to do this driving situation? Um, and we got an Airbnb in Longview, which was, God, I want to say, what was it? Maybe an hour and a half from Portland Airport. Um, and
But close to the
stayed
start line.
there, sort of. Well, yes, yes. So it
That was
was
the
like
goal.
maybe, what'd you say?
Sorry, that was the goal, was to have it close-ish to the start line so that we didn't, because there's a shuttle that they provide. But you have to be at the shuttle at like 4 a.m. or something like that before the start of the race, and it's like a 3 hour drive. And we're like, that sounds ridiculous. So let's try and get at least our first Airbnb for the start of the race as close to the start as possible.
Yeah, so we like drove the hour to an hour and a half from PDX to Longview. And then if you just go north on the same road and you get on the highway that goes east, then we went to Packet Pickup, and that was an hour. And then we drove an hour back down to the Airbnb. Fine, right? Like it was a fine drive. It was two roads. We're there. Um, but like Ben said, the start line was, I want to say it was probably an hour, um, from the Airbnb to the start at Mount St. Helens area. Um, and that meant he did not have to get up as early. It meant he did not have to spend 3 hours on a bus. Um, it also meant that after we dropped him off, right, race started, whatever, Stacy and I went for a hike to the Boulder Fields, um, got back in the car. We could go back to the Airbnb. So when we took him to the start, we didn't have to shove everybody's everything into the vehicle at that time because we were gonna, right, just drive back to the Airbnb. Um, and then we could pack up the car and head back up to Randall and start coming right over and down to the aid stations from there. Um, we did get an Airbnb at the end, um, and we got ours in Packwood. It was about 20 minutes from the finish. It was much harder to find Airbnbs in Randall, but
We had
Packwood
one
had,
before and one
yeah,
after. For the most part, during Bigfoot, the crew camped in the cars during the race.
sort of.
Sort of. Yeah.
I can't sleep sitting up in a car, and I was extremely sleep deprived. And I was very jealous of Stacy, who would get into the car and immediately fall asleep. Um, and I could not. Uh, but uh, yeah, Moab was, we stayed in the Airbnb, the same one the whole time. Um, I mean, aside from that, the logistics are really just the timing. Like how long is it going to take you to get to and from the aid station? Do you have time to go back to an Airbnb before you go to the next aid station? Um, Timing anything like, do you need to go to the store before you go to the next aid station? And how much time is that going to take? Do you need gas? Do you need ice? Is there gas? Uh, like, um, you know, uh, I mean, at Bigfoot, you get gas every time you see a gas station. If you are only down a quarter tank, you put some gas in there. Like, um, and I kind of felt the same way at Moab, I guess, because the weather was so bad. But if it were really hot, I would feel the same way because if he's sleeping in the car, it was like, is he going to want the heat on? Right? Or if it were hot out, is he going to want the AC on? And then, of course, you're using more gas. So at Moab, I also just like filled the tank like every time I passed the gas station because it's like I don't really know what he's going to want in terms of having the car on or off or whatever. So um, the other logistical thing is charging things. Like, and I listened to the podcast, just the Ben podcast from you know, the last one. Um, and you two were talking about headlamps and comparing the two headlamps. And Ben said, I went through so many batteries. I had to change the batteries like 5 times or whatever. And it's like this is the thing where the runner has their thing and the crew has is in like a separate world. And before Bigfoot, I had said, Ben, I'm gonna need you to get a headlamp that takes rechargeable and AAA batteries because the rechargeable batteries aren't charging fast enough for me to give them to you. And if something happens to the car, you're not going to have any batteries. Like, because I can't, right? And so the other thing was like, we're living out of the car. So I don't have outlets, right? Like many outlets. But even with outlets, those headlamp batteries were taking so long to charge. Um, and I was like, I'm gonna need you to get a new headlamp, buddy. It's stressing me out that you are gonna run out of light. And I was like, I don't like, I don't know what to do, but we need a dual fuel kind of headlamp here, um, which is how the AAA battery headlamp situation started. Um, but honestly, with the 110 miles between crew spots, he needed AAA batteries. Like, um, and so did everybody else apparently, because there was a run on AAA batteries at the grocery store. Um,
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm like, oh my God, I have to get a headlamp that consumes both a rechargeable and AAA batteries. And then once it does do the AAAs, it eats them alive. It's like every 5 hours I'm pl replacing these batteries. But like again, I'm the runner. I don't know what they're dealing with. And if somebody, like especially my crew chief, is like, you need to do this, then I'm going to do it. So I got the AAAs and we replaced them twice. I remember very fervently replacing them after the sweepers from Moab came to get me, which is a story we can rehash because Avery has more details on that. Um, but just being like, I got these AAA stupid batteries and I have to replace them, and it's much easier just to replace a rechargeable battery and stupid crew chief, and stupid this and stupid that. But at the end of the day, that's what had to happen. Like I wasn't gonna have light, so I got to make some sacrifices.
you re you really weren't.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing is you. I get it because I have the same headlamp. Is it easier to pop the rechargeable one in and out? Absolutely.
yeah,
Logically, like if we just objectively looked at the facts here, it was not going to last you long enough.
correct. Yeah, but of course, I'm not in the headspace to comprehend that or understand that or have
I
sympathy.
know
I'm
because
just angry replacing had like tiny
you
little
were the one
AAA.
at Tahoe who like, right? Because at Tahoe we had outlets and like it wasn't far to get to you and you saw us regularly. But what you didn't see is me sitting in the Airbnb being like, is that light ever going to turn green on this battery? I feel like it's not. I was like, I don't even know how charged is it? Is it charging? Like, it's still red. I mean, it had been 8 hours or something. And I was like,
Sure.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sending him out there with an actual battery. Like,
And
um,
that's where you have to trust your crew and your crew chief and be like, listen, I don't understand this right now, but sure, I'll comply.
thanks, Ben.
No, thank you. I mean, I didn't know any better. You guys got me through it.
And before we started recording, Avery, you had mentioned that there were some things that Ben hadn't brought up. Um, have we covered any of them, all of them? Is there any we've missed?
Oh, it was just related to like the I think it's Ben had said you kind of want to have at least one person on your crew who kind of rides that line between compassionate and like I have to be blunt with you kind of thing. Um, and I I actually felt really bad at Moab at Geyser Pass, which is mile 200. Um, because that was the one where I felt like I had to be the most like kind of a hard ass. And I'm not that person like in general. Um, but it's like I knew that things were not that he would DNF at mile 220 um if I did not get him out of there. Like I mean, Ultra Pacer was like caution and you know and I was like he is not in a good headspace right now, right? He's coming in like delirious and he had to sleep, but he wasn't going to get the 2.5 hours that he had planned on getting. um and I really did feel bad, that I just had to be like, I'm gonna have to be straight up with you right now. And he was like, please do. And I was like, you can only sleep for 45 minutes or you're going to DNF at mile 220. And I said, you cannot take your shoes off. I said, it does not matter what's going on. You have 40 miles left and your shoes have to stay on. If you start taking your shoes off, this has now turned into a much longer aid station stop. And you're not going to make it. I said, I just need you to trust me. I said, I'm not trying to be mean. And he was like, no, no, you're not being mean. And I said, well, I could feel like I'm being mean, right? And he said, okay, the shoes don't come off. And I said, like, you haven't said there's anything wrong with your feet. And he's like, nope, they're fine. And I said, great. Let's get you to bed, and we'll get you some new shorts and a new shirt, and we'll just leave your shoes on while you put those shorts on. Um, but that's the one that I think I felt um the most uh quote unquote mean at. Even though I wasn't mean, but I felt mean for me. Um, you know, um, and I think it was part of it was also that uh more time there. I mean, really, really put him at risk for DNFing. And um, he, did the thing at Porcupine Pass where he left the aid station, took a nap, a dirt nap, didn't set the alarm, but thought he did. Sweepers came up on him, and I'm obsessively checking the tracker. I mean, the whole race, but certainly at this point. So much so that my phone logged the tracking website as a separate screen time app. Your phone tells you how much screen time you've had per week or per day. Yeah, my phone was like track leaders, it acted like it was an app, like a totally separate thing because I had just refreshed it so many times. Um, that uh like I set alarms. So it's like overnight, I'm early on, if there's a huge gap between crew spots, I can set it every couple or few hours. But at this point, it was like my alarm was going off every hour, so I could check. Um,
Can I stop
and
you, Avery, just real quick? Um,
yeah,
I was going to say, if we have enough time, Aaron, I was going to backtrack. From Geyser Pass, there is a slew of ridiculous events that come to the finish of Moab. So it starts at Geyser Pass. Avery's like,
it
you can't,
does.
yeah. Avery's like, you can't sleep that long. Um, you got to get going. I wake up from a shorter nap than I thought I would have, and I start going. And a miscommunication about the aid station cutoff at Porcupine, which is the next and last aid station. Um, I hear people tell me you have till 10:30 at night. The reality is, I think it's 12:30 at night. Um, my previous pacer, Kate, also thinks this is the case. And so she is telling me, here's your mileage, here's how fast you have to go. And you need to maintain probably like 20 to less than 20-minute miles from now on until the last aid station. Um, which is not true. I have 2 extra hours actually. But I leave Geyser Pass thinking, let's go. I got to do this. And I'm hoofing it. I'm hoofing it. I'm going up some steep stuff, and I come across another runner uh, with a pacer, and I'm like, "Hey guys, hope you guys make it too. Like we're really behind." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Dude, the next aid station, like you got time." And I had been running pretty hard for like 4 or 5 miles without realizing that I had 2 extra hours to get to this last aid station. So that was the first like debacle from that last section. But then I'll let Avery finish out after I do get to the last aid station. It is fine.
You
Did I
do.
call you Avery or did I text you and say
Yeah.
I'm here?
Well, okay, so I had forgotten about the cutoff drama that, he really hadn't had a chance to sleep much. But, and you held your phone up for a second, Ben. Do you still have the lock screen? Is that still your lock screen?
Still my lock screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, for all the races, I make him a lock screen. So it's the aid station name. It's color coded green if there's crew. Um, it's the mile that the aid station's at, the miles to the next one, and the cutoff. And it's sized and color coded so he can it's my lock screen, it's his lock screen. That way he does not have to unlock his phone to check the cutoff. It very clearly said 12:30 a.m. for Porcupine Rim right on the front of his phone, right on it. Like, and the thing was, he didn't believe me. He like texted me or called me or something, and I'm like, it's on your phone. Like, and then I had like gaslit myself. So I'm like, did I type the time in wrong? And I'm going back to the runner guide, and I'm like, have I entered the time wrong in all of these places? Right? Every Ultra Pacer, Google spreadsheets, the block screen, right? Like, I'm like, no, it really is 12:30 a.m. Like, I don't know what occurred, but if anybody wants to make a cut off lock screen for their runner, I'm happy to share how to, a template for that. But yeah, he
You should do
called
that.
me after that random nap, sleepers, and I had woken up. Like I had set an alarm and looked at the tracker, and while I'm looking at it, he calls, and it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. Um, and he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was like, "Ooh, actually, was just gonna call you." And he's like, "How bad? How bad is it?" And I said, "Your ETA is 9:24, and the cutoff is 9. So not good right now." So I said, "You're really gonna have to pick up the pace." Um, uh, you know, and he said, "Okay, I'm running. Call me at 7." And I said, "Okay." It might be 6. uh, at both 6 and 7, he did not have service. But um, that's when he, you know, um, met up with some other people, and a couple of those people had done the race before, and they were familiar with that last section of the course. But um, I was in quite a state of anxiety at this point because the ETA was still above past 9 a.m. Like it was just staying a variety of minutes above like past 9 a.m. And we so we went to the finish line, me and Kate and Anna, and uh, people had said like, "Oh, the tracker's off because it gets flat towards the end," and so people speed up, and people were coming in 90 minutes before the ETA, and I was like, "Hey, I don't know about that, but we'll we should just go there. We should just go to the finish line. Um, just do that." Because the other thing is Ben and I have location services turned on for each other. So I can see his dot right on the phone if the tracker's not updating, right? So it's like he may go faster or slower, but I can still see when he's moving and when he's not. Um, so we got to the finish line, and I look at the thing, and it's like, I want to say it said you were like 3-ish miles out or something, and the ETA was still, it was like 9:17 or something. And I asked somebody, I said, well, how far out can we go to meet our runner? Because it at different races, like Cocodona, you can go up to the hospital, right, or the parkish area, right? And so Bigfoot, it's not very far at all. It's basically the track. Um, and they said anywhere on the bike path. And I was like, perfect. Thank you so much. And I said to Kate and Anna, I'm gonna go out on the bike path. So I took a 1.25 mile run ish out on the bike path until I saw his like the dot on the iPhone, like we were pretty close. And I was around a corner. So he didn't know that I was like coming out to him because he wasn't staring at the dot on his phone. So I waited around the corner. Like I was along the Colorado River and I waited around a corner. So he couldn't see me from a distance. Um, and he came around the corner and I was like, hey, buddy, we gotta go. And he was like, I thought I was moving so fast. And I said, well, yeah, I said, it's all gonna feel fast at mile 238. Like, you're moving forward. I said, but we're gonna have to do a 20-minute mile, and I said, you're just gonna have to trust me on this. We're on a bike path. Um, and I'm just gonna start my watch and we're just gonna stay at a 20-minute mile. And I said, you can do this. Um,
And we
and
finished in 116 hours and 30 minutes, which is, I think, 30
yeah,
minutes from the cutoff. Um,
yeah,
but there was just so much um, drama with, I at Geyser Pass, I was unclear about what my next cutoff was going to be. And then afterwards, I fell asleep um, purposefully, but then it set an alarm. And so the sweepers met me. And then I had to, I mean, really hoof it to the end. Um, and it just like unneeded, like everything else that had happened, the weather, like everything else that had hindered the race. And then, oh, you're not going to set your alarm for a dirt nap, and it's going to really screw you up for the last like 20 miles. Um, and I can only imagine Avery and the rest of the crew sitting at home being like, what is he doing? Is he not, why is he so slow? Like, what is going on? But they all met me at the last like half mile, and it was really cool because I got to finish all three races with my crew, and get pictures with all of them at the finish line. And that was really special because it was a group effort. I mean, none of this happens without everybody involved, including you, Aaron. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Um, is there anything you, either of you or both of you, would like to kind of close us out with?
I'm going to
I made
advocate.
a list. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, no, okay. I was going to say I would advocate that like if you are looking to do a 200 plus mile race, or the Triple Crown, to look at the honestly, and I hate to say it, like the Facebook of each of those races. That's where we glean a lot of our intel and like built stuff from. But also, I'm sure Avery would give his email or info to contact because we did a lot of um, just like recon from other people who had done these races. There's not a really good, and tell me if I'm wrong, Avery, like in-depth, here's how you do the Triple Crown. You just have to kind of look at what other people have done and do it from that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm happy if, Aaron, you want to put contact information for me and, the notes or whatever.
Sure.
People are, welcome to reach out. Um, like I'm not a professional at this or whatever, but I'm happy to share um, what's worked.
And
Uh,
what is your contact, Avery?
um, Probably email would be best, I guess, or Instagram is fine, which is just Professor Avery. I will say I did make notes of things like gear for crew, like things you might want, because runners know what gear they want, and that's easy. You just look at what gear other people are carrying. Like, that's easy. It's very easy to get some gear recs for running. But for crewing, that is less easy to find, I feel like. Something we learned early on is that the crew should organize the runner's stuff. The runner should not. The crew vehicle is for the crew, and the crew needs to know where the stuff is. Ben doesn't need to know where his shirts are because I'm just going to hand him one. Or he's going to say, hey, can I have the orange one? And I'm going to say, absolutely, you can have the orange one. But
Don't
but
make me a
if
diva that way. I wanted a specific color shirt. You're right, though. You're totally right. That's
um
exactly what I was.
well, and this is something we learned from Cocodona was at Cocodona, Ben organized the stuff, but it made it very hard for crew because he organized it in a way that made sense for him, but did not work for us. So, like, runners just need to give their stuff to the crew so the crew can organize it in a way that they can best help the runner. And that's going to look different for every crew. Um, but the system is for the crew, not for the runner. And I think that like we did not know that at first. Like that information was not anywhere. The other thing is build your like family of 200-mile runners. Like help other crews when you can. They will help you. Help other runners when you can. Um, like we met someone at Cocodona. Um, Robbie Cheney saw him again at Tahoe. He got in off the wait list for Bigfoot a week before the race. Um, it he lives in Arizona, so he was going to have to fly. Um, and because it was so close to the race, no crew. Um, and Ben got I saw his name on the list, and I was like, he said he wasn't running this. And Ben's like, let me text him. And we got in contact, and I started texting with him, and I was like, hey, we got an Airbnb. You're welcome to stay. Like rental car, just leave it at the finish line. We'll meet you at packet pickup. We'll drive you back to the Airbnb. I'll drive both of you to the start. Don't worry about getting on the bus. Like it's all good. And it's like it's kind of just what you do. Um, he really struggled at Bigfoot because there was record heat at Bigfoot. It was extremely humid with heat indexes like 3 digits. And he's used to dry weather. And his tracker like really looked like he was going to DNF at Bigfoot, and he was really struggling. Um, and I waited at an aid station for about 5 hours after Ben left the aid station so that he would have somebody there. I fully expected that I would be driving him out. Um, I did not want him to have to sit there, and I had time. The thing is, it's like, he knew like Ben was my runner and Ben came first, but I said, like, if I'm able to help you out and crew you, I will definitely do that. Um, but he got into that aid station and left with 30 minutes to spare. So he was DFL, tied for DFL at Bigfoot. But that is like make friends with other crews, like that's going to come back around.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. Like the 200-mile distance is such like a team sport. Don't be afraid to ask questions on the Facebook pages for the individual races. Don't be afraid to reach out personally to people who have done the races and ask questions. because that's how we all learn.
Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of like, if somebody else's crew asked me if I had something, I would absolutely give it to them as long as I was able to do that, right? That's kind of just what you do out there, you know? Um, other other things that I think was like oh, Kate, who was with us for Moab, at Cocodona, we went to REI and I got this like just impulse buy purchase of it's the Black Diamond Moji R Plus mini lantern. It's a rechargeable, it's like a, I don't know, like a small puck size kind of. Um, and it, like it has different colors and it does whatever, but I thought, oh, this will be like fun for the car or whatever. Like we can like put it in the car when it's dark or put it on the cooler. Um, but it has magnets on it. And I realized at Cocodona that I could stick it on the car. And at Cocodona, there's a lot of like parking lot aid stations, right? And so many cars. And in the dark, you've rented a car. You don't know what car is yours. But like unfamiliar place, unfamiliar car, it's dark. So I started just putting it on the car. And I was like, yeah, Ben, when you get here, if we're not at the aid station, the green light's on the car. And I set the light to green and it just became a thing
Yeah, there's a light on the outside of
where,
the car that I could just like pick out of a crowd. Um,
yep.
which
So it
was
would stay wherever he would come into the aid station, that light would be on the car where he would be able to see it. Like full, like, so at Bigfoot, a lot of them were parked in a parallel parking style line on a narrow road. So I would stick it as far to as far to the roadside as I could. So when he looked down the line of cars, he would see the green light. Um, but Kate, who was with us for Moab, was like, I love this thing. This is amazing. She got home and bought one immediately. Like she texted me and was like, I just got this thing, right? I bought it, like whatever. Um, and like it it made things really easy. If I went to the aid station to fill his bottles and our car is 12 cars down the line and it's dark out, I know exactly where I gotta walk back to. Like, like now I'm not peering in other people's cars trying to find out if it's mine. Um, but yeah, that little Black Diamond, it's the Moji R Plus, and that's the one that's rechargeable and has the different color lights. Um,
And Aaron, if you want, I also I brought up on my tabs here the name of my vest and trekking poles specifically, if you wanted them. I think you may have gotten them from the last episode, but
Yeah. Hopefully I got them right. You
yeah,
can
no,
double
you're
check
good.
me on the show notes. I think I put the general,
Sure.
for the Lecky polls, but I think I got the pack right. It was the Solomon S Lab Adventure 20. Is that right?
That's it.
Okay, perfect. Right on. Well, I
yeah,
really thank you guys so much. It's been awesome listening to everything that transpired and everything both of you went through, because it's a team effort, and collectively, I mean, it's amazing what you all accomplished together. So, thank you so much for sharing that story. I really appreciate both of you. Avery, thank you so much for coming on, and Ben for duplicate for 2 episodes. I appreciate you both greatly. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, man.
Ben, Avery, once again, thank you for such a great conversation, for sharing so much. I will add Avery's spreadsheets and every resource that he suggested into the show notes. So please take a gander at the show notes for those. Really appreciate you, Avery, for sending that over. So thank you both, Ben and Avery. and everything that's going on here in the world of running is life. It's a weird time of year because I am still training some of the cross country kids while starting indoor/winter track. So I have a few hats on, which can be quite confusing because I have distance kids that are already starting winter track. I have cross-country kids that are doing different races, so I have so many different schedules at the moment. I'm building schedules right now for the 55-meter sprint because that is our shortest distance. But in indoor, it then jumps up to the 4x2, and the next open event is a 300. So the next training schedule is 300 and 500. Kind of my I don't even know what to call them, between sprint and mid distance. But I have a schedule for them. I also have a schedule for my 500 and 1,000-meter runners, as well as my 16 and 3,200-meter runners. We haven't differentiated enough yet to get into kind of 2-mile training. We're just kind of in base/strength work for everyone right now. And some of my kids are still on their breaks from cross country. So my daughter included. My daughter and a few of the other girls raced this past weekend. If you follow me on social media, you'll have seen she had a huge PR. Very proud of her. She ran an 11:32, which was well over a minute PR, which was just fantastic. Very, very happy for her and proud of her, of course. Her teammate, Amron, who has been our number one runner all cross-country season, set a new school record with an 11:15. Made a great race out of it. Probably made a little bit too much of a move, kind of 3/4 of the way through the race, trying to not lose touch with the front pack, and kind of pushed herself around a large pack. Probably just put too much into the move and just didn't quite have enough at the end to close like I know she can. Still a brilliant race. I'm very proud of her for the effort and, of course, for getting the school record. We also had one of our other runners. She had a massive PR. It was, probably around 2-minute PR. She hadn't really, in all fairness, she hadn't really run a 2-mile on the track. Just had a cross-country time, but still, what a great performance. It was at the Dash for Doobie, Louisville, North Carolina. What a fantastic meet, very fun, great way to kind of close out the cross country season for some of these girls. My daughter, like I said, she's going on her 2-week break now, and then Amron's going to continue to race cross. She's got a few races left. She's a senior, so working on her. Her finding the right college for herself, which is a great process, and I wish her the best in that. So, but super cool. That all said, it's a lot right now building all of these schedules, and I don't really have another run coach. I have field event coaches that help out with the field events, thankfully. But I basically have to cover all the running events, which can be quite a task. But we're making do. It is what it is. So training all that right now, and picking up a few new athletes, which is fantastic. So for those of you that have reached out, I sincerely appreciate you reaching out. If you yourself are interested, please do the same. You can dip into the show notes and see all the different ways to contact me. Happy to have a conversation. I'll send you a link for my call schedule. You can sign up for a time, and we'll talk through coaching and see if we're the right fit, and if you feel that you would enjoy your time on the Running is Life team. And that's exactly what it is. We've got a great team. We use our own app. It's not our own, but we use an app called Sports U to communicate through. And, people can join micro teams. We split it out in different communities so that people can ask questions. And it's a safe place for all to ask questions and learn. If you're interested in joining us, please reach out. Happy to have that conversation. Like I said, we've been busy here, which is awesome. I had 9 athletes racing in the Looking Glass 100K. God bless Brendan Thrower for having to, throw together an alternate to the alternate course last minute and making all those changes with his volunteers, aid stations, etc. I really feel for him and all that he had to go through. Being that there was a forest fire, they were supposed to have a controlled burn, but unfortunately it got out of control, so he had to create an alternate route. So kudos to him for doing so. But I had 7 of the 9 athletes finish. There was 2 unfortunate cases that were really beyond their own control. One was super early on, and the other was due to potential injury. So they pulled out for the right reasons. But very proud of the 7 that finished, and had some brilliant performances in the marathons this past weekend. One PR'd by 21 minutes. Fantastic accomplishment. So very proud of her. And the other was only 1 second off of his PR. And he's come a long way in his training. So just very proud of my athletes and what they're doing right now. I had another in the it's one of the Yeti races that just happened, 7 trails, and training hadn't been ideal. He just got grit, and he made it through, got 100K in, gritted through it, and just wow, and amazing. It's not hard to be inspired by the athletes I coach, so that's why I share their conversations and bring them on the podcast, because they really are amazing and inspiring. So I hope you enjoy our conversations with them. For my own training, I had a little setback last week. It seems to be the year. I was showing the kids how to do form drills. We were on an uneven surface, and that's what I attribute it to. I think I was doing high skips, and I just landed awkwardly and heard something pop in my knee, and basically I couldn't walk right for a few days. It was really uncomfortable. Pretty painful. The pain has been going down and has been reduced. On Sunday, I just, gave it a little test run to see how it was doing, because I was able to walk without a limp. And so I went for a run to see if I could run without a limp, and I was able to run, albeit I just did 4 miles nice and easy, and then just kind of built back. Knee's been doing really well. So, thankfully it wasn't long of a setback, wasn't, too harsh of an injury, knock on wood. Need to continue to take care of it though, and to do the right things, which would be, strength training and mobility, which I need to make sure I get back on. Also had some little virus come about on Tuesday. This is Thursday as I record this, the day before the podcast releases. And it just knocked me out. I ran in the morning, and then the day I just got progressively sicker. And I don't know what it was, because I woke up the next day and felt okay. Heart rate was still a little bit high. My energy levels were back to normal, so I went for my run. But as I said, my heart rate was still a little bit up. I think my body was still fighting the virus. It showed. I stayed zone 2, just kept it. And here's where I need to start doing better. I stayed 60 to 69% maximum heart rate. I think that's the easiest way to kind of talk about heart rate these days, is just talk in terms of percent of maximum heart rate. So I stayed really low and just kept it nice and easy yesterday. Today, whereas yesterday, staying 60 to 69%, I tried to average about 115 BPM. Today, I tried to stay under about 132. Got over to maybe 135 on some of the climbs today. I did some long climbs today, just trying to, again, kind of train the heart to, be more efficient on climbing. Definitely feel stronger and quicker on the climbs now. I need to kind of dig into the data and see how I'm doing, and compare it to climbing the same climb that I've done recently, and just kind of see what does my heart rate versus pace look like on those climbs, and see where I'm at. But I do feel like I'm moving better, moving quicker and more efficiently, at that same kind of target heart rate zone. Continue to compress to be consistent and be patient. And that's the toughest thing. training by this method is just staying patient, and recognizing that the heart rate is it is what it is, and you just have to kind of abide and take what the day gives you. The other component of this, I talked previously that I didn't do good on my hydration. I've been doing much better on my hydration, but I haven't really started adding back the nutrition component, and my runs are getting longer, and I need to incorporate that. Today was just over 2.5 hours of running, I basically just took fluids. I didn't take any calories or carbohydrate with me, so need to do a better job with that. I'm interested to see how that affects my run, later in the run. I can see, towards the end that my heart wants to get higher faster, and it could be in part to dehydration. Perhaps I'm not taking enough fluids, so I'm going to increase my fluid intake, but I also need to see how does consuming calories and carbohydrates, how does that affect things. Interested to play with that a little bit and see how it affects my runs. So yeah, staying patient, staying with the goal of hopefully doing the mile per calendar date in December. That's coming up real quick. I've only got a little over a week. I already plugged that into Training Peaks for the first week of December, and I already got some nerves kind of coming. It's kind of like a goal event that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So be interested to see how this goes and how I feel throughout this challenge. I'm excited by it, so I think that's pretty cool. So that's coming up here pretty soon. There's right now, I mean, everybody's got their names in the hat for lotteries and trying to sign up races for 2026. So I feel you if you're anxious about what does 2026 look like. I have the same, anxieties and what am I going to have in 2026? What am I going to do? So, I just like you just have to kind of wait. My first lottery is coming up on December 6th. That would be for Hard Rock. I am in the veteran pool, so keeping my fingers crossed that I potentially get in. So we'll see. That will shape my season. So excited by that. I'm very excited by that. But other than that, my goodness, there's Thanksgiving coming up. So I really hope, because this episode will be before Thanksgiving and I won't have another one until the day after Thanksgiving. So I really do hope that everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope everything goes well by you. Hope your training is going well, and that everything in your life is going great. So I appreciate you, as always, for listening, for being a part of this podcast. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please send them to me. Again, my show notes have how to communicate with me. Feel free to drop me a line. I sincerely appreciate those that do. And, if there's certain things you want to hear about, obviously just reach out and let me know. Happy to do episodes about things that you're interested in. I want to make sure that it's relevant to you. So thank you once again. Thanks for being a part of the podcast, and we'll see you, or we'll talk to you next week. So until then, keep moving forward, my friends. Running is life.